April 2025 is shaping up to be a battlefield for ARPG fans. 3 major games are dropping massive updates, and if you're an action RPG junkie, you probably are wondering, which one should you sink your time into? Today we're breaking down Path of Exile 2, Dawn of the Hunt, Last Epoch's Tomb of the Erased, and Diablo 4 Season 8, and by the end, you should have a better idea of which one is worth your time. So let's start with Path of Exile 2, Dawn of the Hunt. Grinding Gear Games is pushing forward with this early access update, and this time they are introducing the Huntress class, specializing in spear combat. This makes the first major expansion for PoE 2's weapon-based skill system, bringing with it more flexibility and movement-focused playstyles, as well as a larger skill tree to have to work through. Of course, it is still Path of Exile, which means if you love deep, complex builds, endless loot chasing, and a hardcore skill ceiling, this update is definitely going to be for you. However, there is a catch. PoE 2 still isn't a finished product. Despite the exciting additions, some features feel half-baked, and we are still waiting for the full game to truly take form. In addition, I find it strange that GGG is releasing another melee class without really addressing the elephant in the room, which is that melee sucks in Path of Exile 2. It has been a huge complaint since EA launched back in December, and it doesn't seem like they are balancing the huge divide between range and melee classes at all. This is always a mystery for me because the other titles in this video have done a great job including melee into the bigger picture with ease. The only reason I believe GGG cannot get this right is because one of their primary focuses is to punish players to create a sense of challenge. It's a great game, but burnout rate is a true issue, and the end game is still not feeling as promising as the studio originally promised. They have taken strides to fix things, but once again, they do get to hide behind that early access tag when issues arise, and it does need mentioning that this game has been flaunted as a free-to-play title, yet there is nothing in sight. The extension of this EA release does raise the question about how much more time the studio will need to become a real game, and those dreams are being pushed back with no sight ahead for when player bases can expect to play the game for free if they don't want to pay for it up front. All of this notwithstanding, it does have to be mentioned here that PoE 2 has had the most stable population thus far in 2025, so it would seem there are heaps of people still enjoying this game. Now, if you're looking for something that feels more complete, polished, and rewarding right now, Last Epoch, Tombs of the Erased might be the best bet for you. 11 Hour Games has been quietly dominating the ARPG scene, and this latest update will bring some of the best in-game improvements yet. The Monolith of Fate is going to be getting new challenges, skill customization is going to be deeper than ever, and the quality of life changes make Last Epoch the most accessible and satisfying ARPG to pick up at the moment, in my opinion. Unlike PoE 2, it doesn't demand a PhD in build making. Instead, you get a very straightforward passive skill tree that unlocks skills as you level up. The skills in comparison are also much easier to maneuver through. With PoE 2, you get some support gems to connect to your skills, but in order to maximize these skills, you have to fumble through lists of possible attachments which may or may not even link to the skill, and the subtle differences that you get from each of these gem combinations makes it even more difficult for people to figure out how to combine skills with the skill gems, thus making people feel more confused and burned out a lot easier. Diablo 4, on the other hand, actually respects your time but really limits your choices. The pacing, the balance, the fun factor, they're all dialed in just right with Last Epoch, and for the most part, if you just stick to a build, it's much more difficult to go wrong than with the other two games. And then we have Diablo 4 Season 8. Blizzard is finally getting the game closer to what fans expected at launch with the introduction of boss power unlocks. This new mechanic will allow players to gain unique abilities from defeating bosses, adding more flexibility in how you approach encounters. The problem? It's still Diablo 4. While the changes are welcome, the core game remains grindy in all the wrong ways, at least for me. Leveling has been adjusted again, but the end game still feels like it lacks variety. If you enjoy Blizzard's polish and a more casual approach to ARPGs, then it's a fine update. But compared to Last Epoch, it just doesn't offer as much depth and personal accomplishments. However, you can definitely be assured that if you want to play the warrior melee class, you can make it to the end game as easy as any other class in that game. So at least they have got the melee ranged concept balanced out enough to make the game work well. So alright, which game should you play in April? Well, here's the breakdown. Path of Exile 2 if you want the deepest build system and don't mind early access jank. Diablo 4 if you want a casual, friendly experience with smooth gameplay but don't expect mind-blowing depth. And finally, you have Last Epoch, which if you want the best balance of accessibility, depth, and rewarding progression, this will be a great RPG for you to jump into. At the end of the day, Last Epoch is the ARPG to beat this April in my opinion. It's complete, it's balanced, and it delivers exactly what ARPG fans have been asking for. But what do you think? Are you diving into PoE 2's new class, sticking out with Diablo's seasonal grind, or embracing the best kept secret in ARPGs with Last Epoch? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay nerdy.